Good morning and happy Saturday.
Yeah, here we are.
Here we are.
Another week of Corona done.
It is. And it's like every week is new. I think, what are we, like, we're at week 6 now, isn't it?
I guess that's one of the weirdest things already that I noticed really early on is time has taken on a really different structure. So when you ask me that question, I have no idea what the answer is. You know what I mean? Like 6 weeks sounds about right, but could be 2 months.
And so many people we're talking to, they're like, is this Monday? Is it Wednesday? Is it,
Yeah.
because without the routine of going to work, coming home, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how that structures our lives and controls our brain in so many ways.
So like you and I haven't actually met. This is the first time we actually face to face, but we've been chatting on Slack quite a bit. Maybe just for everybody else watching, like, who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Maxine Sherrin and I'm Program Director of an event called Spark Festival, which is Australia's largest event for startups, innovators and entrepreneurs.
Yeah, and how long's Spark Festival been going?
Well, we started in 2016, so this year will actually be our 5th year. And we're actually a little bit different in the sense that most of the events on the program are not really run by Spark Festival as such. That's why we can do it with such a small team, often just one person. But instead they're run by everyone in the community, basically. So that way we get this program that's really super fresh, that's really connected to what people are wanting to talk about right now. So, yeah. And we can do that with a really huge program as well. Like last year we had 135 events over 17 days or something like that, all done, with a staff of 2.5. So, yeah, pretty cool.
And obviously from events, and there was some stuff that we're talking about, and we'll get to kind of the Slack community that you and I kind of met over soon, but within that there was some comments and some news items about the impact on the event industry, which I'm sure that you're watching pretty closely. So what does that mean for Spark moving forward? Yeah,
well, our event this year, as it has been in every year previously, is in October the second half. At the moment, the official dates are 7 to 25, but that could change a little bit at the moment. Now, October seems like a really long way away. It's hard to imagine what we're going to go through between now and October. But look, my bet is still that it's going to be hard to do offline events even in October. Especially events of any kind of scale. Like, I'm sure you can have a small workshop with 20, 25 people, maybe something like that. But, meetups with 50, 100, 150 people there, it's just, I don't know, I just feel nervous about it. And more importantly, I feel nervous about talking to any stakeholders or people who I want to get involved and talk as if, everything's going to be back to normal come October. It just doesn't feel right to me. So that was the first part of the decision. Second part was, within seconds of having that idea that we could, and the decision is that we're going to do it as an online festival. And immediately I had that thought. I realised this is like a one-way ticket to our dream, which is to make Australia this, make Spark Festival a truly Australia-wide experience, right? We've kind of tried to do it and get it happening across New South Wales in every year except the first year, I think, but it's never really got the right level of traction. And I think the reason is that with it being an offline, real world festival, the person in Dubbo is just not going to have the same experience as the person in the CBD of Sydney, right? And so making it a completely online festival is this massive equaliser in that regard.
I've been hearing that term a lot, as far as equalizer, particularly within regional. Where does this sit then with some of the other state festivals? Because every state has their festival, it seems, from Code up in Queensland to, we got Thrive and Pivot down in Victoria.
Yep.
StartCon down in South Australia.
Yeah. Oh no, just the one in South Australia. Where does it sit?
Can they work together? Like, do we stagger them out? and maybe
Well,
focus on different things at different times?
yeah, absolutely. I think Australia needs to sort of pull its socks up a little bit and realise that we are big enough to support more than one of everything. There's always a lot of talk going around about repetition and doing the same thing, but look at an economy like America. Yes, I know they've got 300 million people; it's so much bigger, but there's lots and lots and lots and lots of everything. So that's one aspect of it. I think we do all have our different sort of vibes, so to speak, as well. And I think there's something to be said if Spark can almost sort of, what's the word? Almost break its ties with Sydney and New South Wales in a way and become this overarching thing, right? Then all the other locations would have their own thing, but that almost feeds into the Spark Festival, which is a genuinely national experience. Look, that's my dream. I know I'm trying to break down this thing, these state barriers, which are only a little bit over 100 years old, let's not forget. But they seem to be very, very rigid in their attachment. But look, I'm doing my best this year with Spark Festival to overcome that.
Yeah, well, and one of the things I've really been impressed with is kind of your overarching curation of the events across Australia as things go digital, be able to say, look, and there's a few people out there kind of taking this ownership of, here's all innovation and entrepreneur related events across the nation, because we can essentially attend anything, anywhere, anytime. And, let's admit it, sometimes we attend more than one. So sometimes we got like, a few different events on a few different monitors. I'll hop over to this one, maybe I'll check that one out.
Yeah,
and that's just a real thing we can do now.
Yeah, for sure. And, that's actually something that I'm sure will evolve. Although, interestingly, and this can change all the time, I'm being radically open about this, so this may not be what happens. I've got this idea. So Spark, as I said, in previous years, has had 135, even 150, I think, the year before last on the program. It's kind of a fire hose, and no matter if you had the most amazing, user experience in the world, it's really hard to go along to a collection of 135 events and go, oh, what is the thing for me? And I get this kind of feedback all the time. And I sort of feel like, especially in the online context, that could become even more extreme. So at the moment, the plan I'm working on is actually that it's more like Spark TV in a sense, and it's one channel, right? It's back to I don't know where you grew up, Chad, but where I grew up, there were two channels. But
we had three.
Kids, so we were only allowed to watch the ABC, not the commercial channel. So there was effectively one channel that you turned on when you knew your favourite show was on and you watched that. But getting back to Spark Festival, so at any given time, over somewhere around a 14 to 17 day period, there would be one event on. I think it'll also be important to have sort of segments in a sense. You know how radio works in that regard, that on Wednesday morning you've got the gardening hour or something like that. So that kind of programming, I think, is I'm going to try for this year. But to still have the same approach, that all those segments and all those shows will be delivered by the people from the community.
And how do we get, because obviously the thing about going to conferences, it's the content and the information, sure, and some of the people that you see on stage, but really, like I've been to startup festivals and a few other people I've talked to have kind of had the same experience where you actually never even make it into one of the events, just because you go there and all of a sudden, oh my God, this is my tribe, and the people that you haven't caught up with, and then that festival is the only time out of a 12-month period you actually see everybody in the same room. So how do we get some of that happening as well, even as we're maybe social distancing for the next 3 to 4 months?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think that's just going to have to be something that somehow emerges. I don't know whether you did, but I tuned into that Start Mate demo day on Wednesday night.
Oh, I missed that one. How was it?
I found it a really sort of heartening experience. And it's funny that you say that about conferences and events, because and going to them, is it reminded me in a way of the early days of the web. So I, together with my business partner, we used to have a little software tool back in the late 90s. There was a CSS editor called StyleMaster. And we've been busily sort of selling this online and, enjoying our very independent, autonomous lives. But we were because there wasn't really a networked world in a way at that time, or there wasn't online communities, put it that way. And then back in 2004, we heard about this amazing event that happened in Austin, Texas, called South by Southwest. And we'd sort of met a few people over blogs like Jeffrey Zeldman and Andy Bard and these British guys and stuff like that. And they were going to it. So we went along to that as well. And so we went to the event, and then we came back home again, and those connections were so much stronger as a result of that. And going to that Startmate demo day on Wednesday night gave me the same sort of feeling, because they'd sort of made a little bit of an effort to, they had a chat channel. I didn't use that so much on Slido, but they definitely had a pretty good hashtag. They got their hashtag trending that evening in Australia. And all on Twitter, there were all these people who I knew from another one of my previous businesses, Web Directions, who were all over Australia. Like Matt Allen was tuning into it. I can't think of the other names now, but it sort of had that same old school vibe again. So I don't know, like I know that's a very vague answer to that, but I think people are going to keep on trying different things, and I feel like something is going to emerge. I also think people are no doubt out there innovating and trying to create different apps to really solve this problem even more seriously than they have been in the past.
Yeah, you raise a really interesting point, and so many of us in the, quote unquote, like in the ecosystem, can actually point to some of these conferences, some of these events where we meet somebody and we start working with them, and like, this is how the ecosystem builds. It's these connections and these relationships you make, and you got to meet that person, and that kind of connectivity. And also that point you made as far as we're actively solving it now. There's a hackathon going on right now as we speak. Yeah. And entertainment and business and communication is one of the topics. Who knows what's going to come out of that and some of the relationships that form there.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think it's like, I haven't seen anything yet that I've found particularly earth-shattering. And I look in all sorts of different places. Like just before I got online with you this morning, I was going through and I saw through The Guardian, and they had some story about, was it Shanghai or Beijing Fashion Week like a month ago or something like that. Like they did that as an online experience. Yeah. And I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. So I'll go and check it out. And I don't know, it just felt like the term I like to use of greatest derision is an interactive CD-ROM, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, no one's really still cracking and maybe it's because no one's really getting back to the basics of, well, what is an event, right? Let's stop recreating our idea of what an event is online. Let's go back to what we're actually achieving through an event.
But it's almost like we have to have those kind of crude, embarrassing steps in between. Like, how many of us remember getting the CDs of Encarta, online encyclopedia? Like, oh my God, that's awesome. It talks to me, and now Wikipedia is like, yeah, mate, whatever. So I think,
totally.
But would we have Wikipedia without, all those Encarta CDs?
Yeah, we wouldn't have. No, you're right. And like, I think it's an incredible privilege in a way to live through a time where something like that is evolving. In fact, that's another thing that's been on my mind, that I feel like I have lived through a lot of interesting kind of times, like the early days of the web in the 90s, and then, Web 2.0 in the 2000s, and all that stuff that evolved then. But I almost have this sort of sense of regret that I wasn't enough in it. I wasn't enough engaged with it. So I probably was, but it's, just how you look back on yourself. But at the moment, that's really sort of on my mind, that I need to sort of just suck the life out of every moment that we do.
Yeah, but I mean, how many of us had a conversation with our 20 or 30-year-old self,
Exactly.
I could have, like,